All right, no music. I'm not gonna start this one off with no music. How y'all doing? Happy witching hour. This is High Priestess Jamila. Of course, I'm not gonna stay here long because I'll be having really important stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? So, I wanted to talk a little bit about Deangelo's death and then some other things that are very closely related to the subject of his recent passing. And I don't know, just I'm just here to talk, you know what I'm saying? I don't be writing this stuff down. I don't it just comes off the top of my head. So yesterday was really interesting. And what I decided is that if I'm just scrolling in my home page, instead of clicking on a video about Deangelo, I'm just gonna go and look at that yummy man in that video. How does it feel? I ain't doing it no more. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear no spiritual readings on it. I don't want to hear no conspiracy theories about it. I don't even want to hear it because it's always the same old thing and all of it is inaccurate. And speaking of his death, that really hurt. That really hit. That really, really hit hard. He had some really, really strong Prince vibes. Y'all notice that? Just that you would have thought that Prince had something to do with, or at least inspired him. It just amazing. I don't want to. I don't want to hear anything negative. I don't want to hear about anything negative about him and Angie Stone. I really don't. I'm not really into celebrity gossip, and as far as what they say about the music industry, eh, you know what I'm saying? Eh, whatever, right? Honestly, because they just say the same thing. I was looking at a reading though, right? This is really what I wanted to talk about. I was looking at a reading, right? And this young lady, I'm not trying to come down on this young lady. She's a younger reader. And she was, of course, talking about D'Angelo's passing, right? And, I was just kind of sitting here getting some work done, and I wanted to hear just somebody, just in the background. So I just so happened to click on it. And I had to stop working. I had to literally stop what I was doing because it was so disturbing. And then that got me to thinking, I feel like the celebrities, and especially when something bad happens to them, I feel like there are people that take it as an opportunity for me to sexually abuse and oppress. So it was extremely disturbing what I heard this person saying. I'm not going to like share the video or whatever, but I'm going to try to repeat what she was saying, right? Because, after years and years of dealing with the spiritual community, by the way, It's a few things I want to talk about. It's quite a few things. You know what? I'm getting ready to unload. I'm getting ready to unload. I am. I'm not even gonna lie. And so in this particular discussion, the young lady who she calls herself a diviner, right? Which is cool. Like, I'm not hating on her or whatever. But she is sharing this vision that she had of Deangelo and Angie Stone, right? And so as she's talking about this vision that she saw of them, she said that she saw Deangelo laying down on his back, and she said that she saw Angie Stone was with him, right? Like, this is when they were alive, not after death. This was a ritual that she said this was a sex magic ritual because, none of us outside of the music industry actually have sex magic. Sex is not magical at all, right? Wrong, but I'm being sarcastic because there's some people literally that don't understand sarcasm. Like, you know. And so she said that she saw Angie Stone, and I guess they were in a lovemaking session. And she said that Angie Stone had this serpent energy. And she said that Deangelo was in a trance, right? And so I'm like, oh snap, he was in a trance. Angie got it going on. You know what I'm saying? But then she starts talking about it as if it's a negative. She starts speaking about Angie Stone like she's a bad person. Now I've never read Angie Stone because for what? Okay, for what? Seriously, like, but from what I picked up from her energy, you could just sense that Angie Stone is a very powerful woman, right? Now, this divination that this person was doing was not very odd to me. I'm gonna be honest with y'all when I say this though. I think that it's not just Deangelo, but especially him because that man, even the photographs of him near the end of his life, you could just see his awesomeness, his beauty, his appeal. Just he's a beautiful man. You know what I'm saying? And so I believe this is my theory. I believe that first of all, there are way too many readers out here, and it's typically in the black community. They do their readings, and what's at the forefront that is causing a blindness in their readings, and it's also causing them to not see the big picture, is jealousy. So this is like probably I ain't ran into too many videos, but probably like maybe the third or fourth person that I have noticed has visceral or either something negative to say about Angie Stone or a woman. And I think especially when it comes to Deangelo, I think a lot of people were jealous of Angie Stone for being with him, just for him to be interested in her. So basically, here's the play button. Oh, he had to have been under some kind of black magic to want or desire Angie Stone, right? Yep. Because you just knew him so much. And what you say is correct and true because Angie Stone is what? She's a black woman. She's you know what I'm saying? She's a thick black woman with a afro, like big hair, and so he couldn't have possibly been interested in her at all, right? Which I don't know, because I'm not gonna even look into the situation, because to me that's not important. Like, I mean, I guess I could, but you know what I'm saying. But okay, let's get back to the story, right? I'm sorry. This is my whole point of this story. It's not even just about Angie Stone and Deangelo. The point, what got me, because I had to stop what I was doing. I had to go and take a smoke break. I had to literally calm myself down. I got emotional. I was deeply disturbed. And so that's why I'm very careful about, like, honestly, there are only 2 to 3 readers, and that's because I don't look at very many psychic readers, but there's only 2 to 3 that I actually like, right? And I'm very, very picky over that, because here's the thing. I'm about to get to the punchline. I'm about to get to the point. I'm sitting here listening to her say, number one, that Deangelo is in a trance, and number two, that Angie Stone has like this snake like energy, this serpent, not snake, serpent type energy, right? And I think she mentioned that Angie Stone was in a trance as well. And so I'm thinking, why is she talking like this is a bad thing? Is it a bad thing that they were about to make love or have sex magic and they're both in a trance? I thought that was I thought, pardon me if I'm wrong, but see, I'm not wrong. It's just that I don't get, and I never did get my sexual education from YouTube. Okay. But, well, I haven't technically had sex in 12 years. Okay. Like, I've been celibate for 12 years, which I'll get into that in a minute. Okay. But the last time I had real sex with a real man that I was really in love with, isn't that the point? Who isn't that goal? Just thinking back about my sexual experiences, even myself, um, that's typically goal at that point. You know what I'm saying? You want your sexual partner in a trance of ecstasy. What do you want them to be doing? Crying, complaining? What is it like? So I didn't really understand it, what she was saying, right? And so that made me come to the conclusion, right, that some of these people, and that's why I said they need to quit talking about sex magic. Stop talking about it if you don't understand it. Since when did, whether or not it's a couple that's in love or whether or not it's all about lust or sex, since when is that not the goal, to be in a sexual trance? You know what I mean? And it made me realize the harm that is being done, because she immediately began to speak about sex as if it was the devil, like almost immediately. Like, them two being in a sexual trance for whatever. She claimed that it was for them to sell an album. Last time I checked, they ended up with a child together. So that, that's pretty, it can be kind of easy to get pregnant, you know what I'm saying? But they actually produced a offspring with one another. But, she said that it was for their record album that they were having this sex magic, which nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. She was basically saying that Angie Stone did voodoo on Deangelo. And Angie Stone is like evil because she had Deangelo in a trance and she had this serpent energy. And then she began to talk about how they chop heads off of witches. And I kind of stopped listening at that point because it got to be too much. I actually stopped listening and got very triggered when I heard her say that. And I feel so sorry for anybody that has came to this website specifically because what we got on this website is we got a lot of influencers that to me they seem to be trying to disconnect people from their sexual energy. But why do they do that? And so then I instantly start to feel sexually abused by this young lady. And you know what? I don't think that that was her. Well, I look at a lot of these people as being possessed, mind control zombies. They're just repeating and regurgitating what people want to hear, which is the same thing over and over again. Oh, the music industry is dirty. They having sex parties. They in a trance. They possessed by the devil. You need to go to Jesus and the Most High and sing some psalms, and then it's and. But what was disturbing for me was that she related. Like I'm tell y'all something. If you've been on this website learning about yourself, you need to stop. Because I can assure you, if you are in a relationship or having sex with somebody, a sexual trance, that's goal. That's your goal, right? It is. So this is not the best place to necessarily get sexual education. I think it's more so learned through experience. And I'm not talking about sex education in a sense of learning about human anatomy. I'm talking about connecting with a sexual partner and experiencing it. And see, I didn't so let me get into my story real quick. I didn't come into the spiritual community of YouTube until I was almost 40. I was 37 years old, so I had plenty of time to have normal sexual experiences, and I can promise you that the times that me and my partner were entranced by each other, that was gold. In fact, I didn't get all bad things from that video. In fact, it ended up triggering something within me that remembered that. So, I've been working on this whole transmutation type of thing. So it was actually immediately transmuted. But it's just the point that if anybody else is watching that at face value, they're going to go throughout life, possibly with their sexual experiences, being afraid of fully submerging themselves within that experience. And if you can't fully submerge yourself, then you cannot experience it. You are blocked off. You are shut off. And then, therefore, what is the point in doing it? First of all, you don't have to be a witch to have sex magic. You don't even have to be a witch to do a ritual. Right, right. We all know this, right? People that are not witches do rituals every single day. Hopefully, you know, you're get like when you get up, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth. I guess some people don't brush their teeth when they get up, and but y'all know what I'm saying, right? And so, first of all, if that vision that she had was real, I don't know how she would end up in the bedroom with Angie Stone and Deangelo. Like that's kind of freaky to me because I mean, how is that your business? Like, why are you, why did you do that? I guess it was a vision. Honestly, call me crazy. I'm a psychic. I'm a medium. I'm an empath. I'm a telepath. Not once have I ever just randomly had a vision of other people having sex. It doesn't happen because, I feel like people deserve their privacy and when what they're doing, so I would never do that. Like I don't just, oh, I want to, so it was kind of weird to begin with. But while she was talking about it, like it just was really bizarre that she was speaking almost as if she'd never had sex before, almost as if she's never really experienced good sex. Because I can promise you that if you're having good sex, you're both going to be entranced by each other. Now, sometimes it's one sided, but typically the goal is to have that synergy with each other, right? But so I realized that a lot of these people that get upfront airplay, they carry sexual trauma, and that is what is being promoted on this website. Sexual trauma, because and I feel like these musicians and stuff are being used, at least, to get the attention, to pull you in for that sexual trauma, because the next thing you know, they're talking about rape, molestation, pedophilia, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought we were talking about sex. None of those things follow under the category of sex. And if you guys have been with me for a while, 10 years ago, if you guys y'all know the whole big hoopla around this. If you was here 10 years ago, you know the big hoopla around the spiral, and how it was just like this big deal, and it was like, quick, we must tell this woman that she's ugly. We must tell this woman that she's no good. And then also, let's over and over again talk about things that turn her off sexually, such as pedophilia, weirdness, and all other stuff. So it's heavily saturated on this website. Like, I experienced it. It was really bizarre. It was like my sexual hormones were normal, right? Like I was normal, looking for a male, possibly my age, salt and pepper beard, mature, with a job, just kind of the normal things with some sex appeal. What's up with all of these people and their need to talk about trauma? So what? So and disgusting things. So right off the bat, like I've been knowing for years that rarely are you gonna find a safe space to even if you were curious about sex magic, even if you were a virgin and never knew anything about sex or experienced it, you're going to run into trauma, because when you're speaking about sex magic, rape and pedophilia and molestation, those are not subjects that we're going to discuss. Like, those are not things that would be healthy, or even something that a healthy mind is going to want to explore, especially when we're talking about maintaining any type of sexual mood. And for years, I'm gonna tell you something. When and for some reason, why is it in the spiritual community? I really want to know why, because I'm gonna tell y'all something. For years, I was in my own little world. I was in my own little bubble. Still celibate, still single, but just in my own sexual magical place by myself. It wasn't until I started hearing certain things and I heard it, and I would go, oh no, I want to be in the mood tonight. I don't want to be turned off. When it comes to sex magic and sexual nature, I don't want to hear the perspective of a person that would look at being in a sexual trance as some kind of bad thing. And then also energetically, I'm so a lot of people are like, well, I'm exposing somebody, right? So they're exposing Angie Stone because apparently Angie Stone was a cougar and Deangelo was very young. Apparently, listen, I ain't even never paid no attention to that whole story. I haven't, right? If somebody told me, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna like go and have a snack, and what, am I supposed to base my content on it? Right? Because I'm a spiritualist, I'm a witch, I'm a healer. I don't really want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, if I'm gonna talk about it, I'm gonna talk about it in the correct context. And I think that when you are in a situation where you are dealing with spirit and you're even speaking about sex magic, when you're speaking of when you're talking about sex magic, and then all of a sudden we take a wrong turn, and all of a sudden we start talking about weirdness and things that are a turn off, right? And so I'm wondering why. Does it seem like an agenda to you all? Because because I've actually experienced that, and I've gotten so disappointed. If I'm gonna hear, like just to be in on the conversation of sex magic, even though I've had it, I've done it, right? Like, I've had some pretty magical sex in my life. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that made me miss my ex. Like, I was like, oh, I remember being in a trance and I miss that. Like, where is him at? You know what I'm saying? When we're talking about sex magic, most people don't want to start hearing about death rituals, and pedophiles in the music industry. We don't want to hear about that. So where has the spiritual community taken a wrong turn, in particular when it comes to blacks? And this is the expectation that has been set forth. And if you come on here and you speak any kind of truth and you come from an organic place, you're under attack. Your channel's under attack. We need for you to traumatize people as much as possible. And if you are not marketing and selling and endorsing trauma, and if you're not trying to trauma bond with your audience, then you're fucking doing it wrong. And why is it that that people on YouTube don't want better for themselves, to where you can sit down and you can have an adult conversation without trauma bonding? So I've noticed that, and it's a problem. And so then the way I look at it at this point is like this: I refuse to listen to it anymore. And the reason why is because it like what I'm sensing from it is a spirit and an energy behind it that wants you to be afraid not only of your own power, but then sexual power. And then you are being told to be afraid of it. And then it is also demonized. It is also demonized. Now I've had experiences with narcissistic people, right? Because narcissism is a huge issue, and it's not nothing to be proud of, okay? It really isn't. It's a huge issue, right? And so I've actually had a sexual relationship with one narcissist in my life, and what I noticed is that the connection was a disconnection altogether. Like it was, and if there was ever a moment where, because it was never a deep, like sexual, like trancy type of bubbly, like just, you know, it was never like that. And narcissistic people, for some reason, they can't experience that. And that's sad for them. I feel bad for them. Okay. But the times where it would get almost close, like I'm talking about to level two, right? Not level one, level two. Because it would never go full expansion. It would never get that far. But then even if it got to level two, like either that day or the next day, he felt that he had to traumatize me. And it's so weird the way these people operate specifically. And you know what my theory is? I'm gonna tell you what my theory is. And I know a lot of people are like, well, don't make excuses for them, because I'm not making excuses for them. I don't make excuses for people that are possessed. I really honestly don't. Because it's comparable to the zombie apocalypse, or a zombie. If you have a zombie, you know, you're going to be more interested in saving yourself, right? It's comparable to that. So, but and well, it's not comparable to that. Let's not go that far. But and I think that it's possession, and I think that it's a bad possession, because sex is like one of the most healing acts that you can do, either with yourself or with your partner. But instead, what we have is people that shy away from that and are even deathly afraid of it. And so, first of all, when you start speaking of trances, This immediately makes me think of shamanism, right? Immediately, like immediately, because that's what shamans do. They go into certain trance-like states. That is how they are able to manifest their magic. That is what they do. That is like one of the pinnacle points of shamanism and witchcraft, and as a part of manifestation. And to have so many people, and it's not just like you're being given a choice. This is being forced upon you. And what it is doing, it is throwing your entire body off. And so what is happening within social media, to where we have an epidemic of people that are speaking about things that clearly either they're afraid of or don't know anything about. I mean, honestly, okay, let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about it right now. You can be a Christian or a Catholic and have good sex, deep sex with your partner or your husband or your wife or your lover, and you can have sex magic. Like, you can go into a trance, right? So I'm a little confused as to what is going on. At any rate, I'm feeling very uncomfortable with it. I'm not I'm not liking it. You know what I'm saying? First of all, when you look at sex, that's people's personal business anyway. And I feel that it is a violation. And so you a lot of these people are giving you misinformation, and it's not just misinformation, but it is also, oh, what's the word that I'm looking for to describe it? It's negativity. It's negativity. And so this is why I take really big issue when influencers come on here and talk about sex. And then especially when I'm either weirded out, freaked out by it, because I've seen people come on here and they'll say that they're a sex magic expert, but it usually is a conversation that includes trauma. And so then that's when, we could branch off into the discussion about BDSM, which I think that BDSM should be not ever taken seriously. I think that if you're going to play around with it, I think it should just be for fun. I don't think it should at all be taken seriously whatsoever, or if not, don't do it at all. Because when you look at the actual act of BDSM with the dominant and submissive role, first of all, it is a perversion and an exaggeration of the synergy between the divine, well, the masculine and the feminine. It's totally out there and outlandish, and it makes absolutely no sense. In fact, all of that is shutting you and your sexual partner off from really experiencing sex. And and it's my theory that that's why it's so many people that have heart problems. It's so many people that are developing cancer. It's so many people that um are really, really, really just shut off and shut down. And yes, I do believe that people are doing this on purpose. I do believe that it's an agenda. It could either be like a death agenda altogether, some kind of weird necromantic thing that they're doing, but then also it could be about energy siphoning, whatever it is. But I just want to say, beware, beware, seriously, because first of all, I'm looking at a person with a side eye already. Like the moment you start talking and speaking about sex in any kind of context, I'm already looking at you side eyed. But then when you start the conversation off with sex magic, and then you start delving into traumatic things that are going to turn everybody off. You know what I mean? Like, what's the deal with that? And why is that always the play? Why is that always the play button? Why can't sex magic be discussed, even though discussing it does not necessarily mean that you are either ready or either have experienced it? I can honestly tell you that, because y'all know that I have a very vivid imagination, right? I do. Like you say something to me, I'ma see it. Well, some people, you know what I'm saying? Some people, when they say something, I block it off. I don't see it at all. Like, I'm like, oh no, I ain't about to envision nothing that this person say, because this person is like, yeah, no. Mm-mm. But so I'm sitting here and I'm imagining Deangelo laid down on the bed, butt naked, right? And I'm even seeing Angie, and Angie's a beautiful black queen. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's the thing about it. A lot of people that make assumptions about their relationship or whether or not he was really attracted to her, you must not have ever been with no real man. Straight up and down, because I'm gonna tell y'all something. After I gave birth to my firstborn son, I had a little fupa. I've had a little fupa since then, and ain't no man, and all of my men have had an Adonis belt. They done all had nice bodies, and ain't none of them ever body shamed me for having a fupa. So it's something that's very strange that is happening in social media. It really is. It's something very strange. And, I just don't get into it, and I don't involve myself with things like that because it's not real. It's almost like it's super duper fake. So, but anyway, I'm imagining this, and I'm imagining them both in a trance. And I'm like, hell, I missed that. You're supposed to like, I mean, I always for me it's typically one-sided. I've had probably of just a couple of my sexual partners that were able to actually put me in a trance, and trust me, I loved it. I loved it. I gave into it. I just surrendered to the whole situation. How could I not? How could I not? Why wouldn't I? I was in a safe place. You know what I'm saying? It was this, so that was why I was able to let go. But thinking about even the times where it's been one-sided, to where, he was in a trance, but I wasn't really feeling it all the way. That's goal, you know what I'm saying? And then, since when is it harmful? Since when is it harmful? Since when is that harmful? How is going into a trance during sex harmful? How? Obviously, a lot of us should be sleeping with people, obviously, that you could trust at that time. Now, if you're sleeping with somebody that at that exact moment you can't trust them as far as you can throw them, then that would be a problem. And hopefully you've got protection from that, because I would never want to I would never allow somebody that I don't fully trust. And Vic Ann said, why did you not stay with them? Well, I mean, there's a couple of different reasons. I mean, my daughter's father, me and him, we conceived our firstborn out in nature, in the park, which was really wild and fun. It was. And I ended up having two babies with him. Uh What difference does that make? Maybe we outgrew each other, fall out of love with them. That doesn't that doesn't like what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Yeah, what's wrong with what's wrong with conceiving your child out in nature? We were at the park together, and we it was a spur of the moment. Let's do it right here. What's wrong with that? Is that why is that funny? Me and him had a great sexual relationship. Because we lived together for a couple of years after that. But why is that? What is funny about that? Because I do know that there's trolls over here, and y'all, a lot of the trolls, y'all laugh at inappropriate things. Y'all do. Like it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that it's so many people on this website that laugh inappropriately when when something is not funny. So I'm trying to, just, I don't know. But my whole point of it is that I'm sick and tired of the agenda that is in social media. It's turn a person off as much as possible, and then try to force them into doing something that they don't want to do. And so I want people to just be careful on this website, because there's a lot of people on this website. They are on that. And it's awful. It really honestly is. It is terrible. It is. I would not, like, literally, what I'm gonna encourage you guys to do is that if you hear people start to talk about it and the conversation starts to go into the negative, that is not the person that you want to even commune with when it comes to talking about sex magic, and because that's energy that you are exchanging with that person that you're listening to. And for some reason, it's so many of them. You know what I'm saying? It's weird how it's so many of them that are doing that, and it seems like this weird agenda, and it's bizarre, and it's disturbing. And just be careful out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, especially if you are learning about any type of spirituality, right? And so one thing that I've noticed is there's tarot card readers and people doing divination messages that are coming from the perspective of religion. I suppose there's nothing wrong with that, you know what I'm saying? But the way they demonize that sexual connection between sexual partners is where I have a serious problem with it. I have a serious problem with it. Like, it seems, I don't know, it seems like it's an agenda. It really does. And it's bizarre. And why is it constantly being aimed at certain communities also? But I honestly believe that the reason why I've been so disturbed, but it's kind of like, at this point, with me transmuting everything, right? At this point, because everything's being transmuted, every negative thing is being transmuted into positive. Seriously. But it's just the point of that discovery of seeing that. And what I really honestly believe is that there are a lot of people, and I want y'all to be careful with this. It's these readers out here to where their jealousy overrides their ability to give a proper reading, right? Jealousy. because I think that because is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that this is the third person that I have ran into that had something very negative to say about Angie Stone, victimized Deangelo, and then also demonized? Well, I don't think anybody else demonized. Well, no, I take that back. Is that a coincidence? It's not. Is it a coincidence that there's so many of them saying the same thing? Even when somebody dies of an illness. Now, I can honestly say, as someone, as a witch, I can honestly say that medical witchcraft is a very real thing. I have seen voodoo rituals that have made people sick. I have seen that happen to people. Okay, so I know that I can confirm that exists, right? But why is it all the time? Why is it with every single case? And it's usually the woman is some kind of serpent and she's a snake and she done took this man and she done made this man do this and do that. And it tickles me because I thought that's what a woman was supposed to do. Okay. I thought that that's what a woman was supposed to do with her man. That's what I thought. I didn't know that and then and that was another thing that she was talking about. She was talking about how, Angie Stone was controlling him, right? You know how they always, say that this person is their handler or whatever. But I mean, it's so they don't really talk about things in real life as far as like speaking about common folk. So they always use celebrities as like the focal point. They don't never really, but it's always the same theme, and it's always some kind of betrayal, or somebody did something. It was a blood sacrifice, it was an Illuminati sacrifice, and, don't worship the devil and go to God. That's typically what you take away from the situation. And why is it always the same thing? And why do they always relate anything that has to do with real spirituality with the devil? Like, why does it always have to come down to the devil? Why does it always have to always be something negative? Why? If you start and end with negative, that's typically the results that you're going to have. You know how when people say, I've been to hell and back? Well, when they say that, it's where you have been through the descent, you make it out of the descent, and wherever you come out, it may not necessarily be conversion to any kind of religion, but you've still learned something and you've went on that spiritual journey and you have developed that understanding of self, right? And so here's another thing that bothers and disturbs me deeply about the spiritual community on YouTube is that gossip. It's always got to be gossip and negativity constantly. That's it. And sometimes when you are learning something or when you are becoming inspired spiritually, right? It's not going to always be something that is going to shock you. So that's why I call them charlatans, because they want to entertain you, but while at the same time you're not really getting good information. You're not really getting the real information. You're not really, you know what I'm saying? Like in fact, the misinformation that you're getting is actually very heavy, and it's very oppressive, and it's very toxic. You know what I mean? So like, that's really what I wanted to say about that. And and that, like I said, I have a very real, in my humble opinion, I have a very real, I have a very accurate opinion. I feel like what I know has a lot of merit, but it's still a very unpopular opinion, because what it is, it's about shock value, it's about gossip, it's about slander, it's about the same thing over and over and over again. And so, because there was another video that came out, and I didn't even click on it, but it was basically saying that the music industry killed Deangelo. I haven't looked into that, but I don't, but I don't think that it's quite that simple. You know what I'm saying? Like just under the understanding, the deep understanding of, because I still, I may be a witch, but I still believe in God, and I'm not Christian, but I do believe in the most high. That's what I call God, is the most high, the source, or whatever you want to call it, okay? The most high, the God, right? And so I'm thinking, you know, is God in the music industry? Because from what I from from I'm kind of still straddling the when it okay, so let me not get into that. I don't talk about death like that on YouTube. I don't. It's too complicated. It's yeah, no, I'm not going to do that, because and so let me not even delve into that. Let me not get into what my theory is as far as when it comes to death, especially death that is out, well, any kind of death. Okay, I'm not even going to get into it, because it's too complicated, and I'm not going to be here that much longer. Anyway, I just I feel very much so, and it's not just by specific people. Like this particular person that I was looking at, or these other people that I was looking at, are not even related, and it seems like it's pretty much a trend, because and I could share the video with you guys, but I don't want to do that, because I'm not going to do that. I shared it with a friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine. But it was just disturbing, because what I could sense, the energy behind this person, was like this huge disconnect. Like it's almost like, I am here to shut down people's personal sexual powers. And at the same time, I am going to express, obviously, my jealousy for Angie Stone, because she's been with this beautiful man and he's a victim. And Angie Stone is like this big black wrong person that wronged him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally the way that it was. And so it's kind of like what? You know what I'm saying? And again, I mind the business that pays me. I don't get paid to run around here reading celebrities, and I just don't do that. In fact, it's not my thing at all. Okay, it really isn't. I just, and I refuse to change my what do they call that? My brand, or I can't think of what they call that. It's my business model. Basically, I refuse to change it to follow behind somebody else, because so my business model will never be constant celebrity. I'm just not into that. So, and people that do that, I'm not even in competition with them. But what I am noticing as a trend, which is very disturbing, because when you mention a celebrity and then you're trying to educate people on certain things, but the energy that you're given with that subject that you're discussing is not only, to me, very inaccurate, very cookie cutter, but then it also seems like it's some kind of hidden agenda. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I'm just kind of like, well, first of all, most of us should be grown. I guess little kids could come and watch YouTube, without their parents knowing. But we're all grown. And so, technically, technically nobody should have to teach anybody about sex or sex magic, but there probably, it's obviously people out there that haven't really experienced it, based upon what they talk about and how they present it. Does that make sense? Okay. And I think that if you're going to be like the expert and you're going to be discussing this, I think that first of all, and you know what, different things do turn different people on. I know that for me, discussing things like incest, discussing things like child rape and pedophilia and other types of weirdness, those things are a complete turnoff for me, including body shaming. These days, it seems like there's a trend of body shaming and talking about how unattractive somebody is, and everybody is supposed to get turned on or enlightened by that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. That's another thing. It's negativity, period. And so and so it's a very dangerous place to be in. Trust me, I've been there, done that, and I've been in the middle of it, and it's something that I personally have had to heal myself from. You know what I'm saying? Because it was way too much perversion, as well as aversion, oppression, and depression, that was just, which is something that I had never experienced in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to that degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had relationships that have went bad, and I've had fights and arguments, but to sit and to constantly have this negativity, and you're searching for some kind of enlightenment, to me, doesn't really go together. It's kind of like the complete opposite. And then, if not an oxymoron altogether. You know what I'm saying? So, just be careful out here, like I feel like if you want a good sex life or love life, stay off of social media like that. Like maybe stay away from people like that, because people like, and yeah, and that serpent energy is what, like, are you talking about Kundalini? So Kundalini is evil? I didn't know that. I honestly, you know what I thought Kundalini was? I thought that Kundalini was the breath of life. I thought that that was your key. I thought that that was the energy that literally distributes the life force throughout your body. And so why are we trying to turn people against their Kundalini? And then why doesn't anybody know? What is up with all these people blindly following that and agreeing? and also agreeing with it, just like, yeah, I agree, Kundalini is bad, huh? That's basically what serpent energy is. It's your Kundalini. So without your Kundalini, you could literally shrivel up and die early. So why are we promoting that? Things that make you go, you see what I'm saying? Weird. And I'm almost wondering, because this was a sister that I was looking at, you know what I'm saying? And I'm almost wondering, does she know that the serpent energy, which to me is the same as Kundalini, or either it's related, some people would probably disagree with me saying that, and say that it's something different, but they're similar, at least, you know what I mean? To me, serpent energy would be Kundalini. This is the energy and the power and the force of the body. So were you not aware that that was something that you're going to be needing? Or is it just me? And then a lot of these people will say that they're doing divination. But did you connect with a spirit that told you that? Because what spirit was that told you that? Because I wouldn't trust that spirit. I wouldn't trust the spirit that told me that my own Kundalini was evil and the devil. I just, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. Just, FYI. And I'm gonna tell you something. Those are the videos like that they are gonna let people see on this website, and channels like myself and a friend of mine, that me and him, we have very, very, very similar beliefs, and we agree on like 99.99% of things. And so our channels are going to be blacklisted and put to the back, so that these other channels that are telling you basically to run away from your power, to not connect to your sexual partner, and to be afraid of your own Kundalini, they're going to be put in the forefront for you to be influenced by. And honestly, it's so things of that nature, like, that was one of the reasons why a lot of people took it over to TikTok, because it's obvious that that's what's been going down on YouTube. Because if you're speaking about everything that's good in a negative way, then you your channel doesn't get messed with. But if you're speaking about bad things in a good way, I'm sorry, okay, so if you're speaking about bad things that are harmful, that's considered to be good to them. But then things that are good for you and things that you need to know, they say that's bad for you. I don't know. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I hope y'all enjoyed this discussion. Make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up. And I don't know at this point if any new people can see my channel. Unless I do, I don't even think new people can see my channel. I literally, guys, in order for me to get new subscribers, in order for me to even get anywhere in the algorithm these days, I literally have to do SEO, which doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. But if you're new to the channel, make sure that y'all hit subscribe. Okay. All right. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling compelled to do a reading on Angie Stone and Deangelo. I mean, I don't know. I'll think about it. I get busy sometimes, doing things. So, I don't really have time to do that right now. But anyway, Rest in peace, Deangelo. And I will see y'all later. Okay. Y'all have a happy Thursday. All right. Blessings to y'all. Bye bye.